Hi, my name is Marianne Collins, and I'm bringing you this forum for you today. And I really want to focus on celebrating our Black sisters who braved a voyage to the New World without a choice. We need to honor their bravery and their stories. African enslaved women were brought to this country against their will. They were captives, and yet they survived. They thrived. Hear those voices. We need to honor them. If I haven't met you yet, my name is Marianne Collins, and I'm the executive director and founder of the Motherless Daughters Ministry. So I'm pleased that you've decided to spend your precious time with me today. I'm bringing you Forum for You, which is Monday Morning Ministry Moments. Each week, you're going to receive an email that will connect us all together, short messages that words of encouragement, poems, scripture, knowledge from our 20 plus years of working with motherless daughters all over the world, quotes you can connect with, thoughts that should challenge you to look within. But today is special. I really want to take today, and you think about March 8th is Women's History Month, and the whole month of February is Black History Month. So I want to take those two and combine them together and look at the Black African American women and that were part of who we are as motherless daughters today. If you're aware of other motherless daughters, I want you to do three things. I want you to share this message with them. If this message is speaking to you, hit that like button. Let us know that. Tag someone if you would like for them to watch this video too. And if you can relate, I really want to hear what you have to say about the video. So share your comments. This ministry was created for you, to empower you, to educate you, to walk with you, and to help you and other motherless daughters in their healing journey. I have been docent, which is a tour guide at the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. And while I was there, one of the things I would just stand in awe in the gallery of the Freedom Center. There's this huge mural, and it was of enslaved women when they came to this country without a choice. They were captured, they were bound, they were shackled, they were put in chains aboard a boat that sailed to the ports of this new world, our world. I can't share with any pride on this venture. So many of these women were sexually abused, and many of them arrived in the new world impregnated by a needy sailor. I would often stare at these huge murals, and I just would marvel at the courage that these women had. And then one day it dawned on me, they were all motherless daughters. They had to sever their maternal connections due to capture or loss. They had to sever that. But they were survivors. They thrived in spite of the horrible life that they were chained to. What I found a passion, and I researched and created a tour for the Freedom Center called Women of Courage, Stories of Women Who Made It. Only until recently have the history of these women been told. Although really, history has kind of placed women in the margin of history. There's so many women who, both famous and not so famous, who accomplished so much, and they really need a role in the mainstream of history. But, women throughout history have performed very courageous deeds, and others survived in a racially and chauvinistically male-dominated world. I want to share with you some names that you probably never heard of. Brave women who survive, fearlessly stepping out and doing what And many would say it's impossible. Let me share a few. Ever heard of Marianne, Shan, Carey? Well, she was an American and a Canadian. She was an anti-slavery activist. She was a journalist, a publisher, a teacher, a lawyer. But she was the first Black woman publisher in North America. And she's the first woman publisher in Canada. Wow, that's fantastic. Now, of course, we all know Harriet Tubman. She was the Moses who went down, and she was enslaved, and she escaped, but she kept going back to help people escape. And she was part of the Underground Railroad. But did you know that during the Civil War, she was a scout and a spy for the Union Army? And she was part of the women's suffrage movement. She was part of us getting the right to vote. There's a woman and her husband. You can't talk about one without the other. Ellen Kraft and her husband, William Kraft. Now, Ellen was very fair, light-skinned, and William was very dark-skinned, and they escaped. And the way they escaped is ingenious. She posed as a white planter, and he posed as her Black slave, and they took trains and they took ferries and they escaped to Philadelphia. So when you think about that, she crossed race, gender, physical ability by passing as white. Their escape is widely publicized. That's very daring, particularly at that time. Then Phyllis Wheatley, many of us know her. She was the first African author of a published book of poetry. That was back in the 1700s. So, and then the one that I love is Mom Bet, or Elizabeth Freeman. And she brought suit against the this is back in the 1700s. Can you imagine her stamina and her what my grandmother would say, her oomph that she had? She brought suit against the Massachusetts Supreme Court. And she said that slavery was inconsistent with the Massachusetts state constitution. And she brought that, and she won. That is what's so fascinating. That court upheld her, and she's really the person that they contribute to ending slavery in Massachusetts. Harriet Jacobs is another woman who was being threatened, sexually harassed by her master. And if she didn't comply, he was going to sell her children. So she went into hiding. And where she went into hiding was in a crawl space in her grandmother's home above where her children were. For 7 years, she did this. Mary Ellen Pleasant is another woman. And of course, well, my name is Mary Ellen, so she's my favorite. But she really was an abolitionist, and she was an entrepreneur. She was a capitalist, and they call her the mother of human rights in California. If you look up Mary Ellen Pleasant during the gold rush in California, you will find that she refused to do things long before we had ever heard of Rosa Parks. The thing that I want to leave you with is every one of these women model characteristics that we have today as motherless daughters. They were survivors. They were fearless. They confronted difficult reality of their lives. This is what I have, but it's not going to stop me. They made a difference for others. They were change makers. They were resilient. They were courageous. They adapted to their situation and they made it better. And they helped others. Wow. They not only survived, they thrived and they made history. and we need to honor them. What can we learn from these women? Like us as motherless daughters today, we are resilient, we're courageous, and we have learned to survive. We honor these women whose shoulders we stand on. Research these women and their stories. You will find them amazing. As we end, I want to leave you from a quote from Charles Darwin, who said, "It's not the strongest of the species that survive, not the most intelligent. It is the one who is most adaptable to change." Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Monday. Thanks.